his slow climb. He quickly got rid of the 149-kilometer special, using his feet as part of his balancing act, and despite the occasional slipping and sliding, one by one he overtakes those who were in front of him in yesterday's leg. Kinney wins today's stage in front of the Frenchman Richard Sainct and the Spaniard Roma. Stefan Peter Hansel, already four-time winner of the rally, suffered a fall after 19 kilometers. As for the cars, the familiar faces of the four musketeers in the Citroën and Mitsubishi teams are ever present. A duel at the top between the two makes with a slight advantage for Citroën, winner of today's stage. Harry Vatanen comes in ahead of Pierre Lartigue, an experienced driver who has already taken part in 15 Dakars and won 2 of them. And then in third place, the Mitsubishi of the Japanese driver Shinosuke. Not really at ease on the narrow roads, Bruno Sabi was forced to stop twice because of punctured tyres. He's now 7th overall. In T2, Thierry Delavergne, at the wheel of his brand new Nissan, is in first place in the overall standings in his category. In T1, today's stage was won by the Spaniard Miguel Prieto in his Mitsubishi. The Nado-Wajda stage saw the rally's first spectacular accident. At GPS point 267, Hubert Auriol, the organizer of the rally, goes by helicopter to the scene of the accident. The Toyota of the German team, Czerny and Ullmann, has taken a dive and crashed into a ravine 15 meters deep. Both teammates are luckily safe and sound. More thrills and spills to nourish the conversations that evening at camp. The Wajda Morocco welcomed the Dakar caravan to bring in the new year.
Bonne année, bonne chance, bon travail. Un bon point, 1, 2, 3.
A new year that started off badly for the 3 Italians in the rally. Fabrizio Meoni, 4th in last year's Dakar, damaged his front forks 20 kilometers from the start in a desert gully. A 27-hour penalty.
Je n'étais pas tombé, j'étais... c'est cassé, extra. Oh. Je suis pas...
Then Alessandro De Petri was also unlucky. He also fell and injured his shoulder. He was forced to abandon the race that evening in Wajda. Then finally, Cristanelli, who took a fall while going through a gully. A lot of hard luck that didn't seem to greatly affect the new overall leader, Stefan Peter Hansel. The Spaniard Roma keeps his second place overall at 1 hour and 11 minutes from the leader. Kinney, the Austrian, ruined his chances with a mistake in navigation.
200 mètres, Y à gauche.
We are in contact with Bruno Sabi and Dominique Series aboard their Mitsubishi.
En descente.
The navigator directs his driver through the difficulties and dangers indicated in the roadbook.
50 mètres, bien tenir à droite. Et après tu traverses avec une cuvette.
In the Citroën team, Pierre Lartigue tries not to push his car too hard. The French driver ZX201 is holding back and is sitting in ambush only 5 minutes behind the overall leader, Vatanen. The Finnish driver going through a gully has noted to good effect the incessant braking of the unfortunate Meoni. Jean-Louis Schlesser is happy with his 9th place overall at the wheel of his single-seater buggy. His young protégé, Jutta Kleinschmidt, is 13th. The big-hearted Fabrizio Meoni seems to have all the virtues of the Good Samaritan. All the contestants benefited from the advice of the Italian. Meoni watched over the whole rally as it went by. In the truck category, Kamaz and Tatra, both of whom hail from the coal plains of Eastern Europe, are locked in an exciting duel to the finish. For the moment, the Russians are in the lead overall, but the Czechs still have several cards up their sleeve. The American Hummers are happy to be able to continue from one stage to the next, in this their first participation. But the Granada-Dakar rally is also about backup trucks. The Japanese driver, Shinazuka, had to wait hours for his to arrive. The Mitsubishi driver had gone off track and his front axle had been damaged beyond repair in a gully. He nonetheless made it back to the campsite late at night. The mechanics struggled to save the car. They would even work miracles and change the main structure of the front end. The Mitsubishi would take its place on the starting line for the El Rashidia Fulm El Hassam stage. But the Japanese driver knows he now no longer has any chance of winning the rally. First marathon stage of the rally, with a 540-kilometer special full of dicey and difficult terrain. On his KTM, here's the American biker, Jimmy Lewis.
They say this bike is small. This is the biggest bike I've ever raced. I usually ride a 125 in the desert. This thing probably is like 2 125s in the weight. Sure has power though. I think I'm kind of like a computer. I just sit here and wait for something to happen and then react to it. Whoa, like that.
And talking about bikes, Peter Hansel increased his lead over Kinney in the overall standings to 13 minutes. The quadruple champion of the competition seems to have found his rhythm. As soon as you start having fun with your motorbike, then that's the most important thing. Because if you're driving all tensed up all the time, then sooner or later you'll make a mistake. Taming Africa isn't an easy matter. Joan Roma, the Spaniard, who was second place overall, is forced to abandon the race. He's out with a broken shoulder. Then it's the Belgians' turn. Jobé throws in the towel. The 5-time world champion of motocross suffered a heavy fall. Jobé's first Dakar stops here because of head injuries, but he swears he'll be back next year. There'll be a total of 6 amongst the bikers who abandon. The Dutchman, Van der Kooi, was one of them.
Over it.
As for the cars, the first 3 places went to Citroën. Philippe Vanberg was the first over the line, clenching his first ever win in a stage. Then came Lartigue. who admitted he'd touched the 250 kilometers an hour at one point, and then Vatanen. And after Vatanen come the three Mitsubishis. The first Mitsubishi amongst them, the Frenchman, Fontenay, now in fourth place. In T1, Uziu wins the stage, and then another Nissan with Thierry de la Vergne, who is 10th overall and first in the T2 category. On the fifth day of the rally, night falls on the camp. Ghost-like shapes pass amongst the flickering lights. Faces are drawn, haggard, tired.
Drove 200 kilometers on the piste in the dark, which was exhausting, absolutely exhausting. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and we've got to go again at 5. I don't know whether I can get up the energy to do that or not.
Voilà notre petit fortifiant. Il n'y a pas trop de mécanique à faire. Alors on va faire un petit coup de fromage, un petit coup de roule.
Il est épuisé, je crois qu'on va lui donner un petit coup de perfusion avec des glucosés.
Ouais.
This night you Tom some energy, and tomorrow you win the special.
In the medic's tent, people come and explain their troubles and get whatever comfort is available. Tonight, the atmosphere bears the traditional mark of the Dakar rally.
Je vous demande de respecter 1 minute de silence.
On the 3rd of January, the rally finds itself in mourning. At kilometre 157 of the special, the front wheel tyre of the Citroën backup truck number 413 explodes. Another theory was that it was a mine that exploded under the truck's tyre. Either way, Laurent Goguin, 26 years old, couldn't get free and died in the explosion. In tribute to the young driver, the Dakar Caravan decided to continue the race. First place in the stage for Pierre Lartigue and first place overall for Ari Vatanen. But both victories left bitter traces for the Citroën team that day. They had lost a dear friend and a cherished colleague. Another event also marked today's stage. Hard on the heels of the Citroëns, driving at top speed in their Mitsubishi, Bruno Sabi and Dominique Serriès had a spectacular tumble. With 3 Citroëns in front of us, who don't seem to have much problems, if we have the slightest hope of winning this year's rally, we'd have to keep up a very fast pace. But they were, however, able to get their car back to the bivouac that evening. But all chances of a victory are now gone. And amongst the other cars, Kleinsmith's buggy was outdistanced by Thierry de la Vergne, who doggedly continues his climb up the leaders' board to 8th position overall. His main rival is a Mitsubishi driven by Patrick Tambay, the ex-Formula One driver, and René Medge, a former Dakar champion. Their ages might total over a century, but their feet are always flat on the floor. T1, T2, T3, T4. This year, Mitsubishi are present in all of the major categories. For the first time, one of their trucks is participating in the Dakar Rally. Driven by Versino, it is 107th overall. As for the motorbikes, the Foum El Hassan Smara stage will stay forever engraved in the memory of Michel Troussard. Don't move, don't move. How is the bike? It's fine. My back, my lower back. A little lower. Maybe I'm being too careful. It's okay, give me 30 seconds. I've already hurt my back once. When you're next to a thing like that, can't you mark it with something, a flag or something? Does it hurt there? I don't know what it would be like tomorrow, but it's fine now. A miracle. They happen on the Dakar. It's a miracle. A permanent miracle. I'm not the first and I won't be the last. It'll cool down. It'll be all right. Michel Troussard will make it all the way to Dakar. He'll be 47th overall. Yet another event, further along the road, the Frenchman Ozano found himself in deep water, and his only way out was to call in the Moroccan army.
Allez, démarrez. Bonne chance. Ah, merci. Allez, bonne chance, hein. Merci beaucoup.
The soldiers put him back on the right track, safe and sound. Nothing has changed in the overall standings. First, Peter Hansel, second, Kenny Gardner, and third, Magnaldi. This morning, on the 4th of January, the rally is leaving Morocco and going into Mauritania. Kilometre 408, Batenen and Picard have a puncture, and they're not looking very happy about that. We'll have to wait until it cools down. We put some water on it, it's stuck. With a bit of luck, it'll cool down. The ZX will be able to limp its way to Zourat on 3 wheels. At this moment in the race, the Finnish driver has just lost all hope of winning the Dakar. The time he lost had a devastating effect. Batenen falls from 1st to 4th place overall. Jean-Pierre Fontenay in his Mitsubishi offers the Japanese manufacturer its first stage victory since the Granada prologue. But the long-term benefits were Pierre Lartigue's. The Frenchman makes good use of Vatainen's bad luck and takes over the lead in the rally. We are now on board with our friends Tambay and Med.
Ça va être plus roulant aujourd'hui, je pense.
The road's better today. There might be a little wind.
Bien pour toi, dis donc. Regarde, tu vois,
That'll be good for you. A little crosswind.
6:30.
It was more to the right. Thank you, Utah.
Merci, Utah.
As soon as we come along, she gives it all she's got.
Mais les watts.
But Jutta Kleinschmidt won't go much further. She'll soon be forced to pull out of the rally altogether due to mechanical problems. But the most frightening moment of the day came from the Van Kovenberg-Devos team. Their car rolled over several times and put a full stop to their participation in this year's rally.
Revenons là, ici dans deux traces, pleine vitesse. On a arrêté cette pierre ici, et on est retombé là, 15 mètres plus loin, 20 mètres plus loin. On a fait plusieurs tonneaux. On n'a plus touché le sol ici. Oh là là, d'un coup. Il n'y a qu'une pierre dans tout le désert.
There's only one rock in the whole desert, and we run into it. Crossing the border from Morocco into Mauritania, it's Orioli who comes up trumps. The Italian, 3 times winner of the event, will make good use of his major rival's bad luck and take over the lead of the motorbike category. Kinney, Orioli's closest rival, also has to pull out, this time with a broken engine. The second one to suffer bad luck, Peter Hansel on his Yamaha. But petrol lead problems soon had a dramatic effect on the power of his engine. Peter Hansel still made it to Zourat, but he'd lost a total of 3 hours. 45th in today's stage, Peter Hansel is now 7th overall. His hopes have been dashed. Patrick Zaniroli can't understand why only Peter Hansel's motorbike had problems with the quality of the petrol.
Donc on s'explique pas pourquoi 3 motos auraient eu un problème et pas les autres.
Peter Hansel lodged an official complaint with the organizers of the race. Petrol samples were taken and analyzed at his request, but the Frenchman's complaint was rejected. Stéphane Peter Hansel took the personal decision of withdrawing from the rally. I wanted to win the Dakar for the 5th time, so I'm very disappointed. But winning is not the most important thing. Lots of things happen in a rally. Maybe it will be a legendary stage. From what we've been told, it's going to be a difficult one. We are now on board Jean-Pierre Fontenay's Mitsubishi. They are somewhat worried because they have been hearing strange noises. They've decided to stop. Let down by mechanical problems, Fontenay lets Lartigue slip through his fingers. Shinazuka was soon to provide a helping hand to his teammate.
All can happen, but for us, finished. We are here for that.
I decide.
Yeah?
Give.
Okay.
Okay.
Il a décidé, il donne.
No, I decide. Give.
Fontenay will nonetheless lose 2 hours and slip from 2nd to 6th place overall. In the motorbike category, the Frenchman Thierry Magnaldi, who had kept a low profile up till now, wins his first special at Dakar and takes 4th place overall. The Spaniard Oscar Gallardo comes in 2nd in the stage. As for Jordi Arcarons on KTM, he shows us what's it like to have your head in the sand. Eddie Orioli is still overall leader. In the heart of the Kajiva clan, we are now on board with Cyril Esquirol.
La moto est très lourde dans le sable.
His bike is top-heavy.
Elle engage toujours de devant.
Top-heavy up front.
Et voilà.
And tends to dig into the sand. I don't know what to do. Difficulties for some and deep-seated anguish for others. Eric Farge is a biker. He comes from Senegal. He knows the desert well. And yet he has never felt such anguish in all his life. He feels overwhelmed by the fact of being alone in such immensity.
Ouais, c'est angoissant, quoi. J'avoue, franchement, j'ai déjà traversé le désert et tout. Mais ça...
The survivors of the Dakar are soon going to discover the joys of thirst at temperatures bordering 40 degrees centigrade. The ever-present heat this year gave some participants the beginnings of dehydration.
Oh, ok, ça c'est ok. C'est le fire camera.
At the start of the 511-kilometre special this morning, the sun is just rising on the bikers and getting ready to increase the heat and the pressure on the competitors. Much to everyone's surprise, it's Fabrizio Meoni who pulls off his first victory and wins today's stage in front of another Italian, Trolli, on his Kajiva. For the cars, it was a race along mountain roads to get to the Armoggia Pass. On top of the plateau, Vatanen gives his car some breathing space. Citroëns never break down. Even now, this is just a service. Bruno Sabi, on his Mitsubishi, has had another hellish day, losing 2 rear wheels. Sabi is in the dumps, but Mazuoka is in heaven. The other driver of the Japanese team has just won for the first time in his career, first place on a stage. Even when night falls, the desert still holds its fair share of competitors. The nocturnal participants, or rather the zombies. Exhausted with fatigue, lost in the dunes, those bringing up the rear sometimes prefer to stop and take a bite and then decide what to do.
Managed to get the oil in there. Yeah. Slowly.
Only an hour ago, all these drivers were hell-bent on racing. Then there's a moment of magic, when hardship is replaced by comfort, when even the hard-driven machines seem to air their misgivings.
mon cul.
It's 1:15 in the morning when the American Hummers make it to the checkpoint at Zurat.
One thing I've noticed about this rally as racing into the States, everything down here, there's just so much more of it.
Normally, the Americans have good equipment, but I can see that these Jeeps are a bit left behind. It's a shame.
C'est dommage.
Half-time at Zurat. Between sand and sky, there's still one vehicle out there. The truck that brings up the rear with its twofold mission: to bring home to the fold drivers and machines that have had to abandon. We left yesterday at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we've been driving all day. We've picked up a lot of people who had given up hope or had broken down. They were people who felt they had lost something that was important to them. They had invested everything they had in the Dakar, and their car or bike had broken down, which had created for them certain psychological problems. I'm in reanimation, but here I'm doing more psychological work, helping people to come to terms with what has happened. At the halfway stage, 187 contestants have already left the race since the 295 original competitors started in Granada. The Dakar also has some moving stories to tell, like Noshiro's. Noshiro is in her 60s. She is a driver in one of the Mitsubishi private teams.
Every time I enjoyed, very difficult. Oh, too much.
Very funny, the first dunes, huh? Very funny. We pass a lot of cars. When you see the face of the man in the car.
For her, the Dakar was a very special challenge, to be able to live an extraordinary adventure so as better to counter the effects of her illness. As for the motorbikes, Fabrice Roche scrutinizes the horizon in the company of his companion for this stage, Pierre-Jean Viau. Fabrice is out of petrol. We should find some shade before the sun gets to us. Since we often drive together, he's already helped me a lot, so no way was I going to leave him alone. You're a saint, Pierre-Jean. As the terrain isn't that difficult, we can drive at night, if we have to. We'll get to the checkpoint tonight.
Wow. Afghaz.
Afghaz.
Voilà. Ahora volarás.
Vous êtes sauvés là? J'espère. Ouais, oui, là c'est bon. J'espère, ils sont super. Ahora está bien. ¿Está bien? Sí, sí, está bien. Vale, va. Está bien. Una cerveza. Sí. Una cerveza. Esta tarde una cerveza. Vale. Muchas gracias.
¿Tapas aquí o no?
Vale. Ce soir on les retrouve.
We'll see them tonight and buy them a drink.
Au bivouac. Et on leur fait une grosse gamelle. Bon, mais on emmène quand même la petite.
But I'll just keep this little bottle. It might help somebody out. You never know. And help once again, amidst blocks of stone, the Slovenian Stanonik generously offers assistance to 3 fellow bikers.
I drove together with another man from Slovenia, and he was really nice. He helped me 2 times when I stuck in the stones. Yeah, he's really great. He's very helpful. Look at this, he's arriving. So I had to go.
Stanonik the gentleman will even have the elegance to pull free the trap bike of the German Maya.
All people who are here
It's my friend.
Yeah.
Just...
You're so great, huh?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Allez, bonne journée.
In the overall standings, Lartigue is first and Vanberg wins the stage. As for the bikes, Orioli is still overall leader, and Arcarons came first in the stage. Thierry Magnaldi will only be able to do a part of today's special. His engine broke down at kilometre 207. Then, in the middle of the dunes, a handful of bikers, the best. Arcarons, Trolley, the winner of today's stage, Cyril Esquirot, who will take over the fourth place left empty by Magnaldi, and finally Orioli, still overall leader. Despite his abandon, Thierry Magnaldi keeps smiling. Fabrizio Meoni looks like he's had a bad day. The Italian has had to stop because of a puncture. The only way to get to Tichet will be to find an inner tube as quickly as possible.
La chambre à air, tu as? Non? Eh oui. Eh, monsieur.
Two Italians went by before, and they didn't even stop.
Hanno tirato di lungo.
That's not really fair play.
Gli altri si fermano tutti.
It's the German, Schilcher, who will save his bacon. Magnaldi also lends a helping hand to the Italian.
On repart et on verra si...
As for the cars, it's Ari Vatenen who won the stage. The other favourites seem to be driving in convoys. The two Citroëns driven by Lartigue and Vanberg are hard on the heels of the two Mitsubishis driven by Fontenay and Masuoka. In T2, Thierry de la Vergne almost lost everything when he collided violently with a dune. Despite his worry, his backup truck will be able to change his steering box. De la Vergne will make it to the finishing line and keep his first place overall in the category. Meanwhile, for the Kamaz, it's a disaster. The number 410 backup truck snapped its front axle clean in two going over a dune. The Czech company, Tatra, seized the occasion to take 14th place overall. But still behind the Kamaz, number 402, overall leader. Then suddenly, a sandstorm broke out. The Mauritanian desert has its own way of welcoming caravans going through its territory.
Ah, c'est dégueu, ouais, c'est dégueu.
Last desert section of the rally. In the motorbike category, Jordi Arcarons, second overall, and Orioli, overall leader, were practically neck and neck throughout today's stage. Arcarons made a slight error in navigation, and the Italian came in first over the finishing line. Cyril Esquirol, fourth overall, is forced to abandon after a nasty fall at kilometre 160. For his first participation in the Dakar, Cyril was the revelation of this year's rally. An even worse fall for the Portuguese biker Villar, serious enough for the emergency medical teams to set up distress flares for more backup.
Francky, il faudrait que tu appelles Jean-Marc qui vienne ici et tu lui dis son tout vide est là.
The Frenchman, Richard Sanct, will come in fifth in today's stage and reinforce his position as overall leader in the production category. The Italian, Trolli, his acceleration cable broken, will still keep his third place overall.
Ho finito l'acqua, ho bevuto anche l'acqua del serbatoio, quindi domani starò più male. Bah.
Alone on board his two-wheel drive buggy, Jean-Louis Schlesser has serious problems with his gearbox. After 10 kilometers of the special, the ex-world champion of prototype sport has to turn back for repairs. A good day for the Mitsubishi 206. Jean-Pierre Fontenay is the first over the line. Fontenay, the quiet one, who takes things as they come. We started to find real roads that we could use. The last 100 kilometers was just pure pleasure. The Japanese car maker will place 3 cars in the first 4 that day. As for Citroën, Philippe Vanberg holds on to his second place overall behind the untouchable Pierre Lartigue. As for the trucks, Kamaz and Tatra are locked in a no-holds-barred duel. The Russian team in number 402 beating the Czech, Lopre, in his Tatra. In T1, it's the Spaniard, Prieto, who wins the special. But the category leader is still the Frenchman Jean-Pierre Stugo in his Mitsubishi, despite a broken radiator.
Le radiateur, il n'est pas beau. Ça y pisse, regarde.
Putain, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé là? Radiateur,
Magnifique par là.
And here are 2 old pals, Patrick Tambay and René Mage. Isn't it wonderful? It's very clear. It's exceptional.
Limite, hein. Je t'ai pas tanké ce coup-ci, mais c'était pas loin.
Well, I didn't get stuck this time.
Fais comme lui, là. Hop.
Do it like he does.
Très bien.
That's it. Well done.
Du surf.
It's like surf.
Qu'est-ce que c'est beau.
Isn't it wonderful? It's beautiful.
Reste pas trop dans les ornières, là t'as le choix, t'as un peu de choix.
Don't stay in the ruts.
Par gauche là. Ouais, voilà.
Take it to the left.
Tu vas voir, tu vas reprendre de la vitesse tout de suite.
Speed it up a bit.
Voilà.
That's it.
Non, 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 non.
Shall I go left?
Oui,
No.
de voir. Fais gaffe
We'll
derrière.
try it. Watch out behind.
C'est bon.
That's fine.
Voilà, on va monter en haut là.
We'll now go upwards.
Bien, on monte pas en bas en général. Hein. Ouais. Voilà, à gauche, à gauche, à gauche, à gauche.
To the left,
Reste
to the left.
toujours sur le côté où qui est le plus haut.
Keep on the upside.
Il sera toujours temps de descendre.
Keep on the upside. We can always go down afterwards.
À droite, à droite, à droite.
To the right, to the right.
J'étais pas en courte, hein.
I wasn't in low, though.
On recule là?
Ouais.
Should we go back?
Ah bah oui, t'as pas le choix. Hein.
Yep, we have no choice.
Voilà.
That's it.
Ouais, posez-le.
Non,
No, we're
vas-y.
stuck.
Ouais, posez-le.
No, go on.
Essaye encore un petit coup là.
Encore.
là,
Try it
en avant.
once more.
Je pense que je vais poser là, René.
I think we're stuck, René.
Posez.
Ouais.
The rally leaves Mauritania and the dunes of Sahel for Mali and Black Africa. Philippe Van Berg in his Citroën seems to like the change of conditions and the narrow roads as he gets full marks on this stage at the wheel of his ZX. Shinazuko in his Mitsubishi goes out of his way again to give a helping hand to his teammate and fellow countryman Masuoka. The Japanese driver had broken a suspension joint while crossing through a gully.
Bob, I do the work, Hiroshi, Bob.
In the overall standings, the 208 goes down from 3rd to 5th place. As for the trucks, the Tatra of Yemad Sek Slama won't be seeing a road for some time, having fallen from the top of a dune. But today, there were some Japanese who were happy. Hino is leader of its category, of trucks with less than 10-litre engines. As for the motorbikes, Trolley, who had lost time yesterday because of a broken acceleration cable, won the day's stage. Eddie Orioli almost snatched his victory from him. The Italian had to stop because of petrol lead problems. But the overall leader kept the damage down to a minimum and only conceded 7 minutes to Acarons. We never had such a tough time as today. At that particular moment, it was really crazy. Was the water warm? Yes, it was fine. In this green hell, Jordi Acarons, second overall, can't believe his bad luck. While crossing through a ford, the Spaniard's KTM took in water, and it took 15 minutes to clear.
Charlie, Charlie, tu l'as mis, il y a de l'eau dans le pot d'échappement.
The chances for the Spaniard of coming in first in this year's Dakar now look very slim indeed. Today's surprise was again provided by our much appreciated friend Fabrizio Mioni, who made the best time for the stage. Eddie Orioli finished the last 100 kilometers with no rear shock absorbers. As for the cars, Ari Vatanen again won the day's race, and he is 4th position overall. As for the Mitsubishis, Masuoka is 5th and Fontenay is 3rd overall. After the 26th car had struggled through the Cahiers-l'Abbé Special, the track became a real quagmire. The Dakar Rally was looking more and more like the Camel Trophy. The race organisers decided to stop proceedings.
À mon avis, il faudra arrêter au moins les T4-3, ça ne passera pas. Il faut faire passer le message à Charlie 7, Papa Charlie, message à Charlie 7 d'arrêter les T4-3 reçus.
We're now on board with Pierre Lartigue and Michel Perrin, his co-driver, who directs him through a stony descent and asks him to be careful when he overtakes a biker. The biker pulls over and they thank him. The Spaniard, Servia, comes back into the running and snatches third place. Amongst the Mitsubishis, Fontenay holds on to his third place overall. In T1, Houssio enters the top 20 in the overall standings. Jean-Louis Schlesser has passed through the ordeal with flying colours and is 10th overall. Who's going to win the Dakar?
C'est le Yamaha.
Orioli. C'est le Yamaha. C'est Monsieur Orioli.
Eddie Orioli, on his guard and slightly superstitious, insists on waiting until Dakar before he declares victory. The tireless Fabrizio Meoni is again on the honours list for the day's winners. Today, he won his third stage victory. The Spaniard, Carlos Sotelo, will also be on the winner's podium tomorrow in third position. We would also like to mention the bravery of two women competitors, Isabelle Jomini from Switzerland and the German Andrea Meyer, who had a serious fall that day. Together, they arrived in Tambacounda very late at night.
Oui, je vais manger.
What time is it? I don't know, maybe 4:30 in the morning, which is when we arrived. But we lost a lot of time because Andrea had an accident. She hurt her shoulder. And then we stayed there together to help her. The fact of staying together encourages us to carry on and make it to Dakar. I'm going to find the necessary strength to make it to Dakar. Less than 30 minutes after their arrival, both girls take to the road again so as to complete their dream of finishing the rally. Dakar, 5 letters which symbolize one victory, the victory of the 138 survivors. Amongst the motorbikes, Orioli takes home his 4th win. The Italian is now on a par with Peter Hansel, very close to the record of 5 victories held by Cyril Neveu. Winner of the production category, the Frenchman, Richard Sang. The German, Schilscher, won the marathon category. David Casterer, winner of the experimental category. And finally, our two ladies, Isabelle Jomini and Andrea Meyer. As for the cars, Pierre Lartigue and Michel Perrin win the Dakar Rally for the third consecutive year. For the trucks, first victory for the Russians with Kamaz. In T2, Thierry de la Vergne finishes first in his category. Jean-Pierre Stugo gives Mitsubishi its victory in T1. As for Hino, they win the less than 10-litre engine truck category. And victory for Sarrazin and his Toyota in T1 diesel. In 2T diesel, victory for Malgara with his Ssangyong. And finally, Jean-Louis Schlesser wins the two-wheel drive category in his self-designed buggy.